If you are 60 years old and have built up a nest egg, but you're still asking yourself, can I retire early without running out of money or getting crushed in taxes? This video is for you. Today, I'm walking through a real example of a couple both age 60. They have 1.4 million in assets, substantial pensions and social security, and they're currently paying over $100,000 a year in taxes. They're worried about taxes in retirement and if they're able to live their desired lifestyle without running out of money. So let's break down if they're on track, how they can avoid getting crushed in taxes, and what steps they need to take right now. Let's start by looking at exactly where they are financially today. So we have Ken and Beth Sample, married and both are 60 years old. For their investments, Beth has $600,000 in her 401k at work. Ken has $450 in his 401k and an IRA with $250,000. And they have a joint brokerage account worth $100,000. Both Ken and Beth want to retire within the next year at 62. They want to at least maintain their current spending at $10,000 a month, but hope they can spend more because they want to have fun and enjoy themselves. And for the projections, this amount will be adjusted for inflation at a rate of 3%. Now, their estimated healthcare costs are based on the national average at just over $6,000 for each, with the ability to add in a detailed estimate for pre-Medicare costs and Part B and D, plus the out-of-pocket, but we're just going to keep these simple for now and use the national average. For long-term care, we have this in the plan for the final 2 years using the national average for in-home care. We also have the ability to change the level of care to assisted living or a nursing home. Of course, depending on what scenarios you'd like to see for yourself, or if you see yourself helping pay for care for a family member. So for right now, we'll keep that at in-home care. And for our last goal, Ken and Beth want to travel and enjoy retirement, setting a goal to spend $20,000 per year on trips, at least for the first 10 years in retirement. Ken's making $160 and Beth has a salary of $300,000. Both Ken and Beth want to see what it looks like if they filed early for Social Security at 62. And in addition to Social Security, they each have a pension that would start at retirement age as well. So when Ken and Beth retire at age 62, they're going to have roughly $13,000 a month coming in between their Social Security and their pensions. And so if we hop over to their retirement cash flows, we can see their combined salary for the last 2 years when they were working, and then at age 62, Social Security and the pensions kick in. Now, here's how this works. I want to run through these numbers because even though Ken and Beth have a strong foundation to retire early with a 98% success rate and $150,000 of income coming just from Social Security and their pensions alone, there's more to the story when it comes to taxes. So we see their income, total inflows, and then we have their expenses, which makes up their living expenses, housing costs and insurance, and healthcare costs. Then they have their goals, which is the $20,000 a year to travel, and then tax payments, which you can see they were paying over $100,000 a year in taxes in their high income earning years. And when you add up those 3 columns, it brings us to total outflows. Now, the difference between our total outflows and total inflows leads us to the far right column, which is the amount we need to take from our portfolio. And if I scroll down, you'll see this number gets larger and larger until Ken and Beth hit age 75 when required minimum distributions kick in. Now, for most of you watching this, if you've been saving and investing in a 401k or IRA for 2 decades or more, your required distributions could look something very similar to this. $70,000 to $90,000 distributions, one for Ken and one for Beth. Then we jump over to Ken's IRA. His RMD for that account is $40,000, bringing us to a total $200,000 distribution. That is 100% counted as taxable income. And this is why starting at age 75, our tax payment goes from $28,000 to $78,000 and continues to go up from there because everything continues to stay invested. The concern for many folks who I show this to and who are looking to retire don't want to pay the IRS over $100,000 plus in taxes, right? You work your butt off for 10, 20, 30 years. That money should be going to you to enjoy and spend on things that you enjoy doing, or spend it on your kids, your grandkids, and not hand it over to the IRS. So, what can we do about the taxes? How can we avoid paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in retirement to the IRS? Well, let's start with looking at the current tax projections. Now, this blue mountain represents the amount Ken and Beth would currently have to pay in taxes without doing any tax planning. And it gets to over $200,000 to $300,000 in taxes in their 80s and 90s. Now, going back to this chart, when you retire, especially before required distributions begin, you have a unique window to lower your lifetime tax bill. And that's this valley right here between 62 and 74. Here, their taxable income will significantly drop because they aren't earning their high salary anymore, right? During these low income years, they can convert some money each year from their pre tax retirement accounts into a Roth IRA at a lower tax rate. This is called a Roth conversion. And the idea is to convert a specific amount and fill up to a certain tax bracket, which is represented by these colored lines on the chart right here. Now we can see they are just clearing the 12 to 15% tax bracket shown in green here. Let's see what happens if we did Roth conversions, filling up to the next bracket, which is the 22 to 25% bracket, and we're only going to do those conversions starting from when Ken is age 62 to age 74, because those are the years when their income is the lowest. So that alone adds $3.4 million more to the plan, a significant increase in tax adjusted wealth, while at the same time saving you $3 million in taxes over your lifetime. See, the whole idea with Roth conversions is to pay taxes at a lower rate now instead of waiting until you're forced to take larger required distributions later when taxes could be a lot higher. And over your lifetime, this strategy can save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. Now, with that said, just don't go out and do Roth conversions, right? We want to be mindful of how this will affect your situation. For example, if we look at Medicare premiums, if you cross over a certain threshold, your premiums could increase. Large conversions could also affect your ACA subsidy, or your Social Security can become taxable. So there's all these variables that need to be considered and dialed in before moving forward with doing Roth conversions. But as things look right now, Ken and Beth are on track to retire at 62, spending $10,000 per month and having a comfortable success rate. Their withdrawal rate is also very reasonable in the beginning years, hovering just under 2%. And when RMDs kick in, it's still at a comfortable rate of 3 to 4%. Now, let's keep in mind, this is just software, right? And it's very different when you're actually in retirement and living your life. Things come up, life happens, and your goals may even change. Maybe you buy a new car. Maybe you start traveling more. Or maybe you pay for your child's wedding or grandkids' college education. I just had a client buy a vacation home to be closer to her kids. So anything can happen. But before making those big decisions, testing it out within the plan can help guide you in how to best move forward. Because if we take an extreme example to illustrate this point and change the retirement monthly expenses, let's say Beth and Ken suddenly jumped to $16,000 in monthly expenses, our withdrawal rate becomes much higher and much unsustainable, and their success rate plummets to 41%. So again, take all these variables into consideration, test it within the plan, and then make an educated decision on how to move forward. So can they retire at 62? Yes, but doing it right means paying attention to a few critical areas. The first being tax planning to minimize their lifetime tax bill. Second is having clarity on their cash flow. Remember, Ken and Beth want to travel a lot and stay flexible for whatever retirement throws at them. But here's what I see all the time. People retire with a rough idea of their expenses, and then reality hits. The things they enjoy doing or that they want to do more of costs more than expected, or health issues pop up. So clarity around cash flow will be really important. And the third piece is sequence of returns risk. Basically, which accounts you pull from first in retirement can make or break your financial security. Now, Ken and Beth have something most people don't these days, and that's solid pensions covering most of their expenses. The reality is, pensions are disappearing fast. They're definitely not common, at least in these days. Most people I work with are sitting on a mix of 401ks, IRAs, Roth accounts, and taxable investments, wondering which bucket do I pull from first. And that's exactly what I cover in my next video right here. I show you the exact withdrawal strategy that can add years to your money and help you keep more of it out of the IRS's hands. So click here to watch, and I'll see you over there.